Censorship is a matter I feel very passionate about, and many of you might have heard me remark that sunlight is the best disinfectant. If someone is wrong, I want to give them a bullhorn so that people in the back can also hear why they're absolutely idiotic. But in this case, it is the first time in our country's history where someone gets sentenced to jail for offence, and I feel it sets a very dangerous precedent. Will this law be applied consistently with all races, or are we going to see a loophole in the form of black people can't be racist because prejudice and power? Well, from a historical perspective, I can tell you this. The basic underlying belief is that the highly productive and successful minorities in a group, or the so-called economically dominant ethnic or racial minorities, cannot, by definition, be the victims of racism at the hands of relatively disadvantaged majorities. The word racism was first used as an adaptation of racialism to describe Nazi racial policies towards the Jews of Germany. It was, however, only really popularized through Mussolini's public embrace of racismo, or racism, in the second half of 1938, and the implementation of severe anti-Jewish race discrimination that followed. In the imaginations of both German and Italian racists, the Jews, though a small minority, wielded huge power and influence over the national life of those countries. In March 1933, Joseph Goebbels, newly appointed Reich Minister of Propaganda and Popular Enlightenment, complained that, quote, the Jews living in Germany, in view of the small percentage they represent of the entire population, have held such an enormously large number of powerful posts in the life of the nation that the Germanic element seemed almost completely excluded from the leading positions. Now, doesn't that ring a bell? Doesn't that just activate those almonds? Let's just replace one word in that sentence, maybe two or three. And then you've probably just created a snippet from an EFF speech, to be precise. The point is this. As a matter of historical fact, then, it is simply not true that racial minorities perceived as privileged and powerful cannot be the victims of racism. Indeed, as I just explained, the word was first commonly used in the English language to describe precisely this type of persecution. Therefore, I'll leave you with this. If we subject our judgment to favoritism and exclude certain groups from anti-racism laws, the only thing these types of laws will do is drive groups farther apart through the hypocrisy that will be evident if we go down the path of selective application of the law. If, and even though I'm not in support of jail sentences for any type of word or language used, if this is the path we go down, then it needs to be applied consistently. A common response I get when I throw my hat into the ring on matters such as racism and the old South African flag is, and I quote, "You'd love to return to living under the old apartheid government, wouldn't you?" And my only response is, a passionate defender of freedom of speech and a vocal fiscal conservative wants to live under a highly centralized police state that regulates every facet of the economy and the market, and actively bans books, music, and movies. Solid deduction there, Sparky. But anyway, this has been the Conscious Caracal, signing off.
Thank you for your insight, Conscious Caracal. And while we're on the topic of South Africa, all these little, well, this is a fairly large thing. Someone is now going to serve prison time for speaking. And so it's a large thing. But there's a lot of smaller things happening in South Africa all the time that are very, very disturbing. But now you know more. Now you know about Vicki Momberg. Now you know about someone going to prison for speech. And until next time, much love. I'm out.
As a matter of... fuck.